Hi guys, for this lesson we are going to create an acrylic paint technique test sheet. So the very first thing that you are going to do is find your mixed media paper that was mailed out to you in your art kit. And you're going to draw 9 boxes, so 3 by 3. And in each box we are going to explore a different technique. In addition to this piece of paper, I also have my paint palette with red, yellow, blue, and white. I have a paper towel, a cup of water, and my brushes. So in the first one, I'm going to do a dry brush technique. So I'm going to mix actually a green, which is what I want to work with today. So I'm just going to make my own green. Show you what I'm doing on my screen. And I want my brush to be as dry as possible. So after I make my color, I'm going to dab on my paper towel. And then I'm going to, on my first square here, apply that color and see what happens. So the drier your brush, the more like texture you're going to have there. So I'm going to fill in that whole space with that green color. And it should create like a nice effect just like that. In our second box, we're going to do wet brush. So I'm going to make it as liquidy as I can by just adding some water into my color that I was using before. And you're going to be able to do a lighter wash. So I'm going to use that. And the texture that you get should be really different from the first box that we did. I'm going to add a little more water. I'm just going to fill in that whole box. Okay, so now we are going to do blending. I'm going to blend just like 2 colors together. So I'm going to start with a green. On the bottom, and I'm going to turn that into, like blend it with a blue. So I'm just blending on my piece of paper, and it changes the color as I work. Just going to add a little more blue. Alright, next up we've got stippling. I'm going to change my color for that. Stippling is basically creating dots, so I'm actually going to flip my brush over because I've got a nice dot making tool on the back of my paintbrush. So I dipped the back of my paintbrush and I'm just going to fill my page with stipples. That's a great way to make dots. And then we'll let that dry. This is where your paper towel comes in handy, so I'm going to make sure to wipe off my paintbrush from all that paint. Splattering's pretty fun. I'm going to use the same color, and I'm going to mix it with a little water on my palette. So I want it like liquidy, but not too liquidy. A little more water. I hope you can see what I'm doing. I'm going to take this, and I'm just going to take my finger and use my paintbrush to splatter. That's kind of a cool technique. Awesome. And then with that same color that I was just using, I'm going to add a lot of water to it, and I'm going to create a wash. So this is similar to wet brush, but I'm actually going to create more. It's going to be a little bit wetter than my wet brush technique, and I want to create a nice flat wash, and I don't want to see any brush strokes. So with the wet brush, I can still see some brush strokes, but with this one, I just want to create as flat of a wash as I can. So do your best to get rid of all of those brush strokes. The more water you add, the less brush strokes you're going to have. So you can see it's a lot flatter. All right, and then moving to the bottom row, we are going to create a gradient. So that's going to be a monochromatic gradient. So I'm going to start with red at the top. And as I move down, it's going to get lighter and lighter. So it's kind of like an ombre effect. Add white for this one. White is really helpful here. And I'm just kind of blending on my page. So I'm adding a little more red. And as I move down the page, it should get pinker and pinker. And that's a gradient. And then for this one, we are going to do layering. So I'm going to take that red color that I've been using. I'm going to paint a line. And then I made like an orange color to go next to that. It's kind of like a mustard. I'm going to paint a line next to it, but it's not going to touch. And then I'm going to create one more like hue. I'm going to do like a pink, orange-ish color. So I have 3 different colors here that are in the warm family. And then I'm going to layer some cool colors on top. So I've got my green from before. So once these are completely dry, you want to let them dry completely. You're going to layer that color on top of. So mine are dry. And then I'm going to see how the colors interact. I made like a light blue. And that's what I'm going to use next. And a purple. And then in the final box, you're just going to create a tiny artwork of your choice, whatever you want to do. It's a free space for you to fill in, practice color mixing, and create a tiny artwork, whatever you want it to look like.